record only. Okay, permission to record as requested by Miss Zenny since meron siyang biglaang duty. Okay, so again, we stopped at yung topics natin kasi sa epidemiology directly affects the daily lives of most people, and it affects the individuals make personal decisions about their lives, and the way that the government and other public health agencies and hospitals, for example, make policy decisions that affect how we live. So, for example, yung results ng ating mga epidemiological studies here, as you can see in the slide, described, for example, yung first dito. The study finds high prevalence of dengue fever among school-aged children in Metro Manila. So, this result of the epidemiological study might prompt yung mga residents of Metro Manila to use mga mosquito repellents sa kanilang mga anak. Pagsuotin sila or they may request yung schools na kung pwede bang naka-long sleeves and naka-pants yung mga anak nila. And also, it will prompt yung mga school heads, yung mga LGU nila to give interventions. Magfa-fogging sila sa mga schools, magbibigay sila ng mga curtains for dengue, mag-implement sila ng mga 4 o'clock na cleaning dun sa kanila. So another is this one. Research reveals alarming increase in antibiotic-resistant tuberculosis cases in rural communities. So again, meron tayo sa DOH nitong program nito on tuberculosis. Then measles outbreak linked to decline in vaccination coverage. So yung ginagawa na naman ng government agencies dito is to enhance yung vaccination coverage. Then ito yung ating mga COVID-19 transmission risk higher in urban areas. And then investigation links poor maternal nutrition to increase risk of low birth weight babies. So ito, you will see this in the news. Every day, meron tayong mga news on epidemiological studies. And ito yung mga ginagawa ng mga public government agencies ng action. So at the end of this module, your module 1 helps understand Module 1 helps understand what epidemiology is and how it contributes to important issues affecting the public's health. And it, in particular, you will be able to understand the definition of and scope of epidemiology. So, and we will also look into historical development uses of epidemiology. We will also learn about the epidemiological triad and the levels of disease prevention. So again, this is just the introduction of epidemiology. Hindi pa ito yon. Hindi pa ito yung mga pinaka-important na part, but the basics of epidemiology. So, in fact, epidemiology is often described as the basic science of public health. So, kung hindi ito favorite ni Zoe, hindi dapat siya nag-public health. Ganon. So, ito ay describe the basic science of public health for a good reason. First, the epidemiology is a quantitative discipline that relies on working knowledge of probability, statistics, and sound research methods. That's why, tulad ng sabi ni Zoe kanina, nung undergrad nila, it's biostat and epidemiology kasi magka-partner talaga sila. Magkapatid talaga sila. Second, epidemiology is a method of causal reasoning based on developing and testing hypotheses grounded in such scientific fields as biology, behavioral sciences, physics, ergonomics to explain yung ating mga health-related behaviors, states, and events. However, yung epidemiology natin is not just a research activity. Hindi lang ito parang ang inyong research proposal na ginagawa or activity, but it is actually an integral component of public health. That's why when we go to your outbreak investigation, dun yung mas ma-appreciate itong ating epidemiology. So they provide, again and again, sasabihin ko, they provide the foundation for directing practical and appropriate public health action based on this science and causal reasoning. So yung pinakatanong natin, what is epidemiology nga ba? So the term epidemiology is, sige gawin natin to the usual way. There's an epi, demi, and ology. So it's derived from the Greek words epi, which means on or upon, demos, which means the common people, and ology means study. So putting this together, so what is epidemiology? So epidemiology is the study of that which falls upon the common people. Ano nga ba nagpo-fall upon the common people? Okay, itong, sorry sa aking mga commercial. So epidemiology, this is the, maraming mga definition of epidemiology, but this is the best one. Epidemiology is the study of the distribution and determinants of health-related states or events in specified populations and application of this study to the control of health problems. So it seems too much, pero we cut down kung ano nga ba itong mga distribution, determinants, mga health-related states or events. Uh, Sana kapag ma-explain natin yung mga terms na to singly, maintindihan ninyo or maaalala nyo itong definition na ito ng epidemiology. So we start with distribution. So epidemiology is concerned with the frequency and pattern of health events in a population. Tulad ng example ko kanina, ilan nga ba yung nagka-COVID? So that is frequency. Ilan nga ba? 1, 2, 3. This is the number of events. So frequency refers not only to the number of health events, but also to the relationship of that number to the size of the population. So for example, 10 lang sila. May isang nagkaroon ng COVID. So that is 1:10. Compared sa isa lang ang nagkaroon ng COVID, 100 sila. So, yun ang frequency. It does not only refer to the number of health events, but also to the relationship of that number to the size of the population. So, yung resulting rate allows epidemiologists to compare disease occurrence across different populations. So, distribution also refers to the pattern of health events in a population. That's why sinabi ko kanina, ilan ang nagka-COVID-19 today, last week, last month? So, pattern refers to the occurrence of health-related events by, you will see here, time, place, and personal characteristics. So, sa time natin, that is simple. It may be annual, seasonal, weekly, daily, hourly, weekday, versus weekend, or any other breakdown of time that may influence disease or injury occurrence. Sa place naman natin, this include geographic variation. Urban ba 'to nangyayari? Sa rural? Anong pagkakaiba? Sa urban, mas maraming nagkakaroon. Sa rural, wala. Location of work sites or schools. Maraming nagkakadengue sa school, sa mga public school, sa private wala. Maraming nagkakaroon ng dengue sa mga workplace kung saan maraming malapit ang body of water, for example. Personal characteristics, we also include here demographic factors. Nung mga thesis kayo, ito yung una yung ginagawa. You check the age, sex, marital status, socio-economic status. You also as well look into behaviors, and kung important naman sa inyong study is the environmental exposure. So this is the part na distribution na sinasabi dun sa definition natin ng epidemiology. When we go to determinants, ito din yung isang term dun sa ating definition. These are the causes and other factors that influence the occurrence of disease and other health-related events. So, epidemiologists assume that illness does not occur randomly in a population. So, hindi siya basta-basta nakukuha ng kung sino lang. But it happens only when the right accumulation of risk factors or determinants exist in an individual. So, for example, to search for these determinants, epidemiologists use analytic epidemiology or epidemiologic studies to provide the why and how of such events. Ito yung i-discuss sa week 3 natin. So, they assess whether groups with different rates of disease differ in their demographic characteristics. Mostly ba babae lahat ang nagkakaroon ng ganitong sakit? Mostly lalaki ba? They look into genetic or immunologic makeup. Mga Filipino lang ba ang nagkakaroon o mga Caucasian lang? Behaviors, those that wake up ng 6 o'clock ay nagkakaroon ng ganito bang mga sakit? Environmental exposures, those living in houses made of wood, for example. Sila bang nagkakaroon ng ganitong disease? Or others na so-called potential risk factors natin. So ideally, the findings provide sufficient evidence to direct prompt and effective public health control and prevention measures. So parang ang simple nun sabihin, pero ang hirap talaga nito gawin. Yung part na yun, kung hindi ito experimental. And we don't usually experiment on people. Hindi natin ilalagay yung mga tao. Sige, mag-vape ka for 3 months straight. Tapos tingnan natin kung may magkakaroon ka ng sakit. Tapos i-compare ka namin sa hindi namin ipag-vape ng 3 months. Kung magkakaroon ba sila ng ganong sakit. That's not ethical. That's why we don't do experimental na part dito sa ating mga epidemiology kasi hindi siya ethical. Hindi natin gagawin yon. And then meron din sa ating definition yung health-related states or events. Ano ba tong mga to? So anything that affects the well-being of a population. So nung unang panahon, si epidemiology ay focus siya exclusively on epidemics of communicable diseases. Lahat lang ng communicable diseases. But that was subsequently expanded to address endemic communicable diseases and mga non-communicable infectious diseases natin. So meron tayong mga epidemiological methods na na-develop and na-apply for chronic diseases, itong ating mga lifestyle diseases, diabetes, high blood, mga injuries also. Dati hindi kasamang injuries. mga birth defects, mga birth, maternal-child health, occupational health, and environmental health. But then epidemiologists began to look at behaviors related to health and well-being, such as yung mga exercise, use of seatbelt use. Now, with the uh, recent explosion in molecular methods, epidemiologists can make important strides in examining yung mga genetic markers natin of a disease risk. Parang si Angelina Jolie lang yan. Nagpatanggal na siya agad ng kanyang breast kasi siya ay mataas ang risk for having breast cancer. So indeed, the term health-related states or events may be seen as anything talaga that affects the well-being of a population. So, but nonetheless, many epidemiologists still use the term disease as shorthand for the wide range of health-related states and events that are studied. So kahit na hindi disease yung mga injuries, yun talaga yung mga usual term na ginagamit, disease pa rin. And then, specified populations. Makikita nyo to sa definition. So, it's the collective health of the people in the community. I want to stress this part, yung specified populations, because although epidemiologists and direct healthcare providers, yung ating mga doctors, mga clinicians, they are both concerned with occurrence and control of disease, but they differ greatly in how they view the patient. Sino ang patient ni epidemiologist? Sino ang patient ng ating mga doctors or clinicians? So, si clinician natin, o yung meron tayong magiging future doctor dito, si Zoe, is concerned about the health of an individual. Yung tao lang na yun. So the epidemiologist naman is concerned about the collective health of the people in a community or population. So in other words, the clinician's patient is the individual, the epidemiologist's patient is the community. Therefore, the clinician and ang ating epidemiologist have different responsibilities. For example, when a patient with diarrhea, meron siyang, yun ang kanyang diagnosis. Yung ating clinician will focus on treating and caring yung ating patient, yung individual natin na may diarrhea. Yung epidemiologist will focus on identifying kung bakit siya nagkaroon ng diarrhea, yung exposure or source that caused the illness. And kung ilang tao ang nagkaroon din ng diarrhea, na-expose din siya dun kung saan na-expose si patient natin. Na may potential ba ito na mag-spread sa community? And ang gagawin ng epidemiologists are yung mga intervention to prevent mga additional cases or recurrence. That's why marami sa ating mga clinicians or doctors ang kumukuha din ng Masters ng Public Health or they have yung itong epidemiology training natin. Kasi maganda na they look into the person and then they can check kung ano yung mga exposure niya. They look at the epidemiology part then. So they can do both. Not only treat the patient lang, but also yung prevent additional cases or recurrences, yung part ng epidemiology. So again, epidemiology natin, review lang, epidemiology is the study of the distribution. We've seen that ito yung frequency and pattern and determinants, yung causes and risk factors of health-related states and events. Again, that's not just diseases, kasama yung mga injuries natin dito. In specified populations, so yung specified populations natin, yung patient ng epidemiologist is the community, collective to. And this is what epidemiology is. So we're done with the first bullet natin. Nasa second bullet tayo. Don't worry, I'll go on faster. Itong history natin, ayaw natin yung mga history. Tapos na sila. However, itong si epidemiology, Exciting kasi yung kanyang historical development. We need to include it talaga dito sa ating introduction. So don't worry, we have only 8 na mga tao dito sa ating historical development of epidemiology. So people have long viewed epidemics of disease and plagues as terrifying occurrences. So long ago, there has been a continued desire to have a more rational and complete way to explain diseases. And recently, yung ating mga health outcomes, rather than believing that diseases were simply caused by evil spirits or a god, meron na tayong mga empirical observations, epidemics, and other causes of mortality, and that is the beginning of the field of epidemiology. So, we start yung ating history with Hippocrates. Kilala niyo naman siya. Some people consider Hippocrates to be the first epidemiologist. So, he wrote a book on airs, waters, places where he described epidemics. Imagine that is uh, BCE. So, Hippocrates thought about environmental and behavioral issues that might be associated with disease. That's why, hence, siya yung considered first epidemiologist. So he focused on rational explanations of the disease rather than nung panahon niya ay naniniwala sila na dahil sa evil spirits, dahil sa punished by God, mga ganon. So for example, sa kanya ito, yung sa malaria, was even known about in those times. So he described the malarial parasite periodicity and malarial paroxysm, which is the period of yung ating period of illness for malaria. Yung may intense fever followed by profuse sweating and their flare up. So Hippocrates was in favor of swamp drainage to prevent miasma or bad night air. So he observed na nalilink yung malaria with those people living near these swamps. So that's the start of epidemiology. Second natin is si Girolamo Facastoro. So siya naman, another contributor, ang sa kanya is nag-show siya ng ways of transmission of infections. So transmission of infectors by direct contact, air, and via contaminated clothing. So alam nyo, maganda itong mga history kasi nanonood ba kayo ng mga drama box, ganun? Or real short? Uso kasi yun ngayon, pinapanood ko. So meron yung mga, hindi ko alam kung nanonood kayo nun na. Pwede akong mag-share. Meron yung mga doon, parang from modern era sila, and then nagta-time travel sila pag, kunwari namatay sila dito sa time na ito. Parang nare-reincarnate sila years back, kung saan wala pa tayong nitong mga medicines and all. So imagine if nung time na yon is hindi pa alam itong epidemiology, for example. So kayo pa lang yung mga masusulat dito na mga contributor sa field ng epidemiology or medicine. So kayo yung magsasabi na itong mga infections pwede siyang matransmit via direct contact, air, or clothing. So he proposed dito na yung mga seeds ay caused by itong mga transmission na to. So third natin is si Captain John Grant. So after Fracastoro, si John Grant contributed to epidemiology as one of the first demographers. So ito yung nalilink na sa ating stat. So si Grant calculated survivorship on a chart and he presented population and mortality statistics in London during the time of the plague. So yung statistical and census methods that he developed and used became the basis for modern demography. So John Grunt did an analysis on the vital statistics of people living in London, and he published these natural and political observations made upon the bills of mortality. So ito actually, yung publication niya was the first estimation of the London population that was statistically based. And then now we talk about James Lind. Lind was interested with the cause and treatment of scurvy. So, alam niyo naman kung anong scurvy, di ba? So, yung scurvy natin, yung time na, ah, kilalang kilala yung story nito eh. Yung sailors natin, yung nag-suffer sila from scurvy. And si Lind, nag-theorize siya that the citrus fruits could cure scurvy. And during that time kasi, hindi pa kilala yung mga vitamins. So ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo, pag na-reincarnate kayo at that time, at least alam nyo kung anong ibibigay nyo sa kanila. So, ah, yung vitamin na yon, kilala na natin siya ngayon as your vitamin C, which is necessary to maintain healthy connective tissue. Hindi lang siya pampaganda at pampakinis natin. So, maraming namatay na sailors that time and sila ay merong scurvy. And si Lind, siyang nagsabi na something is missing sa diet ng mga sailors na to. So gumawa siya ng experiment. In-experiment niya unethical si James Lind. In-experiment niya sila. Meron siya mga pinakain ng citrus fruits, meron siyang mga hindi pinakain ng citrus fruits. And then, dun, of course, dun niya nakita na yung kumain ng citrus fruit, may sailor doon na was already able to work. So, dun nila na ano, na may vitamin or that's why preventive medicine and improved nutrition ang part ni Lin. And he helped lead the modern day clinical trials. Kasi nag-start siya i-test. Ito magte-take. Ito hindi magte-take nung citrus fruit. And then nakita niya na itong nag-take, ayun, gumaling siya. And then we have Percival Pot, which is the first person to show that an environmental carcinogen may cause cancer. So, ito, scrotal cancer ang cancer na pinocus on niya. So, he noticed that London men working as chimney sweeps had more scrotal skin sores than would be expected. So, parang yun, ilan ba ang nagkaroon ng scrotal cancer? So, ilan sa kanila ang exposed sa chimney, for example, sa soot, coal soot. So, yung observation ni Pot is the first time na nag-check na environmental factor was noted as a cancer-causing agent. And this is also the beginning of modern non-infectious disease epidemiology. So, hindi siya yung nakakahawa, mga ganun. Yun yung uso sa kanila kasi nun. So, ito yung start ng non-infectious disease epidemiology. And then we have William Farr, who's considered as one of the founders of modern epidemiology. So meron tayo kanina about statistics, but Farr took statistical data and tested it sa social hypothesis. So he also classified causes of death in a way that accounted for broader factors that determine health. So he demonstrated a relationship between population density and mortality rates. So he mapped deaths, monitored outbreaks, and developed a categorization system. So in London at his time, between 1807 to 1883, nagkaroon ng major outbreak of cholera, wherein many people died, and this ito, minap ni William Farr yung mortality from cholera. So, yeah.
Yung mamatay sila.
Yes.
Pag yung mamatay sila.
And then we have Sir Edwick Chadwick who studied sanitation issues naman. So si Chadwick supported the idea that disease was directly related to the living conditions. So ito yung dun sa isang ano din natin kanina. So, in that, there's a strong need for both public health and social reform. So Chadwick proposed improvements such as itong fresh clean water closets, which was a room with a flushing toilet in each home and sewage carrying system. So he promoted the use of a special water type pipe for sewage to reduce drinking water contamination. So more on sanitary conditions of the laboring population ang field ni Sir Chadwick. And lastly, kilala niyo ba to? Sino may kilala nito? Sinong nanood ng Game of Thrones? Si Jon Snow. Si Charisse. Si Charisse lang ang nanood ng Game of Thrones. Pero hindi yan si Jon Snow natin. Ito si Jon Snow natin, Charisse, okay? Si Jon Snow natin is the father of modern epidemiology. So, siya yung unang nag-conduct ng first outbreak investigation in London. So, he showed an increase in patients with cholera symptoms who lived in one district. So, si Snow, ang ginawa niya, kinount niya and minap niya yung cases of cholera according to where people lived and work. So, kinount niya lahat yan. Tapos minap niya. He noted that many people died dun sa mga nakatira sa Broad Street. So, ito si Broad Street. So, nakita nyo dito, maraming namatay dito sa part na to.
Pag namamatay,
All had been ill with cholera symptoms. So, Snow is likely the first person who geographically counted and mapped cases of a disease. So, he compared cholera in different parts of London and came to the conclusion that people here sa Broad Street, yung mga gumamit itong pump, so makikita nyo to pump nakalagay dito. Those people who used the Broad Street water pump had much higher rates of illness when compared to people with other areas of London. And Snow's research showed that contaminated water had spread cholera. And that's why it's considered the beginning of epidemiology, the study of health outcomes in population. So, by the end of the outbreak, more than 600 people had died from cholera. Lahat sila exposed dito sa water from the Broad Street pump. So, ang ginawa nila that time, nung nakita yung ginawa ni Jon Snow, they removed the pump of this Broad Street pump, yung handle ng pump, to control, ito yung control measure na ginawa nila that further confirmed Jon Snow's hypothesis nung bumaba yung new cholera cases at that time. So, ito yung replica of the actual pump. So, yung si Jon Snow ngayon, meron tayong tinatawag na the Jon Snow Society. They aim to promote the life and works of Dr. Jon Snow. And nag-encourage sila to celebrate the memory of Jon Snow by visiting this Jon Snow pub. So, pag mapunta kayo doon sa London, which is located on the site of the original pub. Okay, so we're done with the second bullet natin on the historical development of epidemiology. So I hope meron kayong mga naaalalang tao doon and nakaka-relate to. Now we go to the uses of epidemiology. So we'll go fast. We have only 4 uses: assessing the community's health, making individual decisions, completing the clinical capture, and searching for causes. So epidemiology helps assess the health of a community by providing crucial data about the current and potential health issues within a population. So public health officials use this data to determine which populations are at higher risk and what health problems are increasing or decreasing over time and where these problems are occurring. So this information is vital for, again, planning and implementing effective public health intervention. So itong figure na to, kakatapos ko lang ng aking training on global burden of disease. Ang ganda nito kasi nakikita kung ano talaga yung matataas na cases ng sakit ah ngayon. So this is 2021 for both sexes globally, makikita nyo pa rin na mataas pa rin yung cases ng COVID-19 natin. So dito makikita naman, you will see Philippines here. Makikita nyo kung saan may pinakamataas. So yung red dito, siya yung may pinakamataas na mga cases. May water na. And then here, dun din sa, this one is software or application na ginagamit to check globally kung ano yung mga problems natin. So makikita nyo dito, mga non-communicable diseases, skin diseases even sa different countries and per country makikita nyo different sa male, females, and different age groups. Maganda to. Hopefully, ma-touch natin to sa isa sa mga modules natin. Then, second use is that many people may not realize that they've been using this information to make everyday health decisions. Napasadahan na natin to kanina. For example, they choose to quit smoking, eat healthier, or exercise regularly. And lahat ito dahil sa mga results ng epidemiological studies natin. And from the link between smoking and lung cancer, dito natin nakita yung role of exercise and diet in preventing heart disease, which nakita natin from the results of epidemiological studies. Then third use, epidemiology also plays a crucial role in completing the clinical picture of diseases. So by working with healthcare providers, epidemiologists help identify patterns and causes of illness. Alam mo, makaka-relate kayo dito kasi at very fresh pa sa atin yung COVID-19. So makikita natin doon, gumawa sila nitong timeline na to, kailan nagkaroon ng case ng COVID-19, ano yung na-experience ng unang case, kailan namatay, anong peak, anong mga symptoms, kailan nawawala, nung nagkaroon ng vaccine, bumababa. So, that is completing the clinical picture. So, we have also other case examples. Like in 1989 and 2000. Yung 2002, SARS ito. So, coronavirus din ito. At that time, it's a new type of coronavirus na nag-emerge pa rin galing sa China. Galing sa China talaga lahat. And the last important use of epidemiology is searching for the causes of diseases. So this process is involving identifying mga risk factors and understanding how diseases spread, leading to effective public health action. So yung classic example natin dito, nakita niyo na itong map na to kanina, yung investigation ni John Snow of the cholera outbreak. So he demonstrated na yung contaminated water was the source of outbreak. So, we're done with the third bullet. Fourth bullet na tayo to understand the epidemiological triad, the host, the agent, the environment. So, the epidemiological triad is a model that helps us understand the complex interactions that lead to the spread and causation of diseases. So, it consists of primary components, the host, the agent, and the environment, and each of these elements play a unique role in the development and transmission of disease. So understanding how these factors interact is essential for identifying or designing effective public health interventions and disease prevention strategies. Kailangan bang ito ang bigyan natin ng pansin, itong environment, itong host ba o yung agent ba? So, yun ang importance ng epidemiological triad natin. So let's start with the host, which refers to the individual or population at risk of developing a disease. So several factors influence a host susceptibility. So yung age niya, genetic makeup, immune status, behaviors niya like nag-smoke ba siya or diet niya. For example, older adults and individuals na merong compromised immune system may be more vulnerable to infections, while certain genetic factors may predispose people to specific conditions. Next, we have the agent. So, agent, which is the cause of the disease. So, you will see in this figure, agent natin is your TB organism. So, agents can be biological, itong mga bacteria and viruses natin. Pwedeng chemical to, toxins, or heavy metals, for example, or pollutants, or physical, ang ating agent, like your radiation. So, each type of agent has unique characteristics that affect how they cause disease, such as how easily they infect a host, or how severe the disease they cause, and how they are transmitted. And lastly, yung third component natin is the environment, which encompasses external factors that influence both the agent and the host. That's why it's a triad. These factors can be physical, such as yung climate or geographic location. Pwedeng social, like community behavior or culture. Pwedeng economic, yung income level, o pwede din yung access nila to healthcare and cultural factors. So the environment plays a critical role in determining how diseases spread and whether they can be effectively controlled. So dito sa example natin, to understand how diseases occur, we need to consider the interaction between the host, the agent, and the environment. So, in the case of tuberculosis, ating agent ay your, dami nating medtech dito, no? The Mycobacterium tuberculosis bacterium. And yung individuals natin, yung host, are those individuals with weakened immune system such as those yung mga may HIV or AIDS, yung mga malnourished, or meron silang diabetes. They are more susceptible to tuberculosis. And the environment also plays a crucial role as well. Factors like poor ventilation, high population density, bad sanitation, and limited access to healthcare contribute to the spread of TB. And the bacteria thrive in the environments where people are in close contact, crowding, such as yung mga slums, mga shelters, mga prisons. So by examining these interactions, our public officials can target interventions to improve the living conditions, enhance ventilation, ensure early detection, and provide prompt treatment to help prevent and control TB outbreaks. And last bullet natin is on levels of disease prevention. So disease prevention is a cornerstone of public health. So bago din sa akin to noon. They involve a range of strategies aimed at reducing the risk, onset, and impact of diseases. And these strategies are categorized into 3 levels. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention. And each level targets a different stage in the natural history of disease, and focus on specific interventions to protect and improve public health. So si primary prevention natin aims to stop diseases before they occur by reducing exposure to risk factors. So examples nito, that's why I like examples kasi mas makaka-relate tayo. Examples include vaccination programs that protect against infectious diseases, mga health education campaigns promoting exercise and balanced diets, and policies like smoke-free laws that reduce exposure to tobacco smoke. And the focus here, dito sa ating primary prevention, is on keeping healthy people healthy. Si secondary prevention naman natin targets the early stages of disease to halt or slow its progression. So this involves early detection through screening programs such as yung ating mga mammograms for breast cancer or routine blood pressure monitoring uh, to identify hypertension. And by catching diseases early, secondary prevention helps reduce complications and improve outcomes for patients. And finally, yung tertiary prevention natin, this already involves managing established diseases to prevent further complications and improve the quality of life. So this includes yung mga rehabilitation natin for patients recovering from strokes, management programs for chronic illness like yung mga diabetes natin, and support groups natin for those uh, having mental problems to provide emotional and social support for those individuals to cope with long-term health conditions. So in summary, ito yung ating tatlong levels of disease prevention: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Uh, yung tertiary natin, ito na yung pag-manage and mitigate of those established diseases. Secondary, yung early prevention. And yung primary natin, prevents disease onset. Okay, so this is what we learned today. The definition and scope of epidemiology, yung ating mga 8 na bida dito sa epidemiology. Yung core uses natin ng epidemiology, yung epidemiological triad natin, yung host, agent, and environment, and yung tatlong levels of disease prevention natin, primary, secondary, and tertiary. So that's all for our first module. So I learned this kanina dun sa isang course na tinitake ko. Teaching is more than imparting knowledge. It is inspiring change. Learning is more than absorbing facts. It is acquiring understanding. So I hope you learn from this module and appreciate our course for epidemiology. Any questions po? I hope recording to. Yes, recorded siya. I'll stop here.